Hello once again, and thanks for joining me. Today we're going to be looking at the Suit of Swords again, and the card, one of the cards that's left in this Minor Arcana series is the Two of Swords. I'll try and get a decent angle at that for you. So the card is called Peace. Slightly different from the Golden Dawn pack that preceded this, and it was entitled The Lord of Peace Restored. Looking at the Book of Thoth, it basically says that the title Lord of Peace Restored is really not the correct title, because there's no conflict that's occurred between the ace and the two. So looking at the Tree of Life, those are associated with Keta and Hogmile respectively. So we go along with the title Peace, where there's no inherent obvious conflict within the card, although those pinwheels in the background do indicate the movement of the mind and the potential of it to cause havoc. So it's probably the lull before the storm, because we've already seen in the 3 it doesn't take long for the suit to degenerate quite rapidly. Also with the Rider-Waite card here, that's very much along the Golden Dawn model, where you've got someone making a decision there. The choppy waters in the background again give it away that there is inherent conflict, difficult decisions, tensions, that sort of thing. So that's the difference between what Mr. Crowley in the Book of Thoth says and what the Golden Dawn and probably the Rider-Waite implied as well. So with that in mind, we'll go on to the next section and look at the symbology of the Two of Swords in detail and see how that plays out in the spread. Okay, going to the just a general overview of the card. We've got an inherent sense of balance here with the symmetrical pinwheels in the background, and obviously the two swords themselves cross in the centre of the card, and they pierce the blue rose in the middle there. So there is a sense of symmetry and balance to the whole energy of the card if we just glance it. What else can we say? Well, we go on to the astrology there, and we've got the moon balanced on the dagger at the top and Libra at the bottom. So those two are a fairly happy combination. The moon really describes our instinctual and emotional energies, and with the moon in the sign of Libra, which is Libra is to do with balance, we're likely to have a rather sort of deep inherent need for peace and harmony within our life. So this idea of Libra being associated with balance is also demonstrated in the Major Arcana, which I can't wait to get onto, which is the adjustment card. As I say, we've got the Libra, the scales down there, and again you've got this idea of symmetry within the card. So much detail in the Major Arcana, I just don't know how I'm going to get it in one video, but anyway, there you go. Okay, so the card in itself is actually quite neutral. It's neither good or bad. It's just it's trying to convey a sense of balance coming through here. However, with the Suit of Swords, it inherently has some turmoil in it, because the swords are the product of the combination of fire and water. So we've got the wands representing the fire and the cups the water, and the swords are the next one along the line of the tetragrammaton there. So there is an inherent conflict, something that come up in mind to me, which is quite funny. Don't know whether anyone has seen the film, but we've got the thing of Michael Douglas there in War of the Roses, and there was an inherent conflict in that marriage. I think this was towards the end of the film, and the chandelier there just descended and they both got killed. So charming, eh? But it was a very good and funny film. But that was just some way I have to illustrate the inherent tension in the swords there. Probably quite unconventional, but there you go, that's me. So the suit of swords is like the child, and the product of the fire and water there. So with the god of each sword, we've got like a dove, and we have angelic figures in a kneeling sort of prayer, which is a symbol of peace. I don't know if I can explore that in any more detail there. So there you've got like an angelic sort of figure here. I'm not quite sure where the dove actually fits in. But these are the supposedly angelic figures there. Sometimes the design of the card was actually changed. Oh, here we go. These are the kneeling angelic figures there, and there, the knees there, the wings there, and the head. Again, angelic figures here. So it's a sign of peace. This is another reason why I highly recommend getting the large version of the Thoth deck, because you just miss so much detail in the small deck. The pinwheels in the background, which are these, is the constant activity of air, or the mind, because air represents the thoughts, the mental processes. So despite the relative peace of the card, it really is just a temporary stave. So in a reading, that would transfer as being something in the background that could be brewing for the client. The blue rose in the center here, it's said that emits these rays in the background, so these actually stem from the blue rose. And the blue rose has 5 petals, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this represents the letter He, the letter of the goddess. So the card carries some of the more gentle characteristics, because the goddess does represent that gentleness in the tetragrammaton. So that reflects in the colour of the card as well, in the background. The colours are quite subdued. You've got none of these really intense dark colours in this card. That's about it for the symbology. In terms of divinatory meaning, it can mean traditionally the client having a difficult time making a mind up about something, can't make a choice. It's not an acute situation, but something that more sits in the background and occasionally surfaces. Or it might be just someone dealing with the pros and cons of a situation. So words to describe this card are things like passivity, stagnancy, but there's no really inherent chaos in the background going on yet. It's just the Rider-Waite definition of the card transfers, the blindfolded woman in the card is an indication that you might lack the information you need at this time to make the right decision, and this might transfer to this card here, where we just might not have the necessary information to make a decision. So it's not something that is really acute and pressing, it's just something that's there that we need to be aware of. But in any case, with the Two of Swords, it's really directing us that our decisions should be geared towards bringing sort of a greater peace and harmony in our life, and that should be the driving force of any decisions that we make. So looking at the reverse meaning, if you want to go into reversals, it means hasty decisions resulting in a lack of balance in our life, or an extended period of stalemate without being any clearer on the choices that we make or have to make. Or it could be confusion and stress due to information overload, so there's no decision and no harmony, so we've got the worst of both worlds. So there you have it, that's the Two of Swords in a nutshell. We'll finish off just looking at how that relates to a few other cards. Okay, for the final section, if I pull the Two of Swords as the first card in a Celtic crossbred, the card is showing me that I need more balance and neutrality in my life. So by that, it's balance from a wide range, from the extreme of the pleasure of the Six of Cups. Even though that is balanced, it's still not this same sort of neutrality as the Two of Swords, and any negative influence that may be in my life. So it's essentially like the Buddhist monk doing the middle way. It's a sense of just neutrality. If it's crossed by the Seven of Cups, for instance, that would seem to indicate that there are areas in my life that I'm going to excess in, and that I need to make a decision really to curb that. With the Indolence card, that's showing me that I've been sitting on a situation and getting a little bit lazy about it. I'm not maybe willing to put the effort into something, and so it's just been sat there in the background. And in order to get more balance in my life, I really need to get my energy moving and make a different lifestyle choice or a decision that is affecting my life. Three of Discs is a work-related decision that would come up. Could be, do I take a job A or job B? Do I undergo and put my energies into a specific project that's been in the background for a while that I haven't really done anything with? That sort of thing. Four of Discs was all about knowing your own boundaries, and if I make a decision, is that gonna leave me not knowing what my boundaries is? It's going to take up too much energy, so I need to make sure that any decisions I make don't deplete my energies too much, that I'm still like in control of it. It's not something that's just going to run away with me. Seven of Swords is all about self-doubt creeping in that prevents me from making decisions, so I need to look at the reasons why I haven't made a decision perhaps, and root those sort of negative things out of my psyche. Two of Cups, very different decision about a relationship, more than likely. Again, this is not a chronic decision. It's could be to do with living with that person or not, lifestyle choices, that sort of thing. The Four of Cups is all about a sense of taking things for granted and boredom. So from that point of view, it's showing me that I need to again move on and do something with my life and not take it for granted. And if we finish off finally with the Seven of Wands, that's sort of the opposite in a sense, because it indicates that we've been putting a lot of energy into something and that energy is virtually spent. So we need to make a decision that is going to change our lives, so we've got more our energy is being put into something far more productive that's going to yield a sort of sense of balance that we need in our life. And I think that's about it for this session. We're getting through the minors now, and the inherent importance of the minors, even though they don't relate to this spiritual path proper, which the majors do. This is all about balance in our personal life, and so being able to live more comfortably is a good step to being able to, like, for me, like to meditate. If my life is in turmoil, then concentrating on the big issues then becomes more difficult. So the minors are extremely important in that process. As we'll see, as we move on to the majors, we'll get a much bigger picture of where these minor cards actually fit in. Alright, I think that's it for now, so I hope you're all well, take care of yourselves, and hopefully see you again.